Jim.
Before we get started, Governor, I just want to, on behalf of the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, I want to thank you for being with us today.
Sure.
And
Thank you. Thank you. No, it's great.
In the 6 months that you've been governor, you've been working with mayors and first selectmen more than any other governor in the past. So we just want to acknowledge that and thank you for that.
Sure. Thanks. Thank you.
I just ask if you have a question, if you could just identify yourself for the governor. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We let state representatives ask questions?
Doing double duty. I'm still a first selectman for a few more months.
There you go.
So, thank you. Phil Miller from the town of Essex. I was there at the presentations, the comprehensive presentation, the case that was made by the lieutenant governors, Drs. Lorenzen and Herbst, about the Yukon initiative. And I know a lot of people here may not have gotten the encapsulation. Could you briefly do that for us?
Sure. We're making a major investment in the University of Connecticut Medical School, Dental School, the infrastructure, and the medical center. But it's very different than any discussion that's been had in the past. It is designed to bring about job creation. So not only are we replacing beds which need to be replaced, most of the hospitals that are represented in this room are in the process of replacing beds. That's common in the United States because buildings that were built even 50 years ago or 40 years ago are obsolete to today's medicine and how that medicine is provided in a hospital. And that's what there was agreement on in the past. The state had appropriated $254 million with the assumption that $100 million would come from the federal government for the replacement of those beds. I moved well beyond that to additional facilities. In that prior agreement, I should point out, they were playing a bit of a game. They were going to vacate a tower. They were only going to, and then build a new hospital tower, bed tower, and then they were like pretending that the tower that was left wouldn't be used for something eventually. What we're doing is we're fast tracking what needs to happen on that campus, and specifically what we're doing is developing 50 labs to be fully staffed and 50 scientists to be brought to Connecticut to be engaged in bioscience research. And we are following that model because it's what's been successful elsewhere. I happen to have just been at my nephew's wedding last Friday night down in the Chapel Hill, right in the middle of the triangle. And it is pretty impressive what's going on down there based on sustained investment in private and public education, as well as the support of studies in bioscience and life science industry. So we moved well beyond that, including up to about a $900 million investment, not all made by us, some made by, obviously, donors to the university, as well as a contractual relationship with respect to office space on the site. But the key here is that based on modeling that Fred Carstensen, somebody who's been a frequent presenter at these meetings before, is that it would produce about 16,500 jobs over the next 20 years, but more importantly, allow us to compete to retain. Let's be very clear. It will allow us to compete to retain the bioscience jobs that we already have, and that is an active competition down not so far from where you live. We lost 400 jobs at the Pfizer site to Cambridge, Massachusetts, an area where both private and public institutions have made pretty sizable investments in the bioscience and there also in the engineering side. What I actually envision is between Yale and Farmington and Storrs, we create our own research triangle. Sure.
Thank you, sir. Paul Formica from East Lyme.
Yep.
Roughly 1/3 of the communities in Connecticut depend on the resident trooper program to support their public safety initiatives in town. That's one of the commissioners, I would say to you, needs a little help in opening some doors, because while the state is encouraging, as you said, all of us to regionalize, we think the operations of the resident state trooper program can be modified to look even in a regional or more appropriate measure for this economy. And
Right.
We're having trouble getting that door open. So
Somebody send me a letter on it, and we'll follow up, okay?
thank you very
Great.
much.
No, thank you. It's great to see you again. Thank you. Anybody else? Oh.
Governor Mike Frieda, First Selectman North Haven. Nice to see you here, and thank you for joining me last month in North Haven. We really appreciated that.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
we, Praxair has a division that's in North Haven, and we were celebrating the 50th year at that site, if I
50th
remember
year.
correctly. And they're actually expanding production.
So my question today is, many of us here in the room today, we have a situation where many of our largest Grand List members, companies like Praxair, are suffering from very high energy costs, and puts us at a little bit of a disadvantage, because for whatever we can do to help these businesses locally, it's kind of out of our control in terms of what we can do for them with one of their largest percentages of overhead. So my question is, how do you see it down the road, and what we can do to help these businesses with high energy costs?
You know, I think it's a great question. It's something I'm working on a regular basis, including trying to develop relationships that are more likely to get alternative energy, clean energy, Quebec hydroelectric into the marketplace in Connecticut. If you examine the marketplace for electric energy, the cost factor driving it is natural gas prices. Now, the good news in that is that we've discovered as much as 120 years worth of natural gas that can be mined or can be brought to the market. It involves some technology that is somewhat controversial in some areas, but the reality is that we now know we have for the foreseeable future the ability to have a relatively stable natural gas marketplace. Many states are already sharing in the lowering of prices as a result of those findings and the newly depressed cost of natural gas. We are not as rapidly in Connecticut because we had engaged in a different form of contracting, which we are in the process of changing. So it protected us a little bit on the rise of natural gas. It's insulated us from the savings of the fall of natural gas. Having said all of that, by the end of the year, you'll start to see those prices come down pretty well. I mean, easily 7%, maybe as much as 14% over a slightly longer period of time. In this energy bill, which I think is actually a good bill, I think it's substantially better than either of the bills to have passed or been taken up in the legislature in the last couple of years, and substantially better than the one that Governor Rell vetoed. It's much more comprehensive. It pushes the development of additional markets, as well as an appropriate level, but not unlimited level of support for alternative energy sources, including solar and wind and other technologies, including some technologies that will bring jobs to the state of Connecticut. So I'm keenly, and what we also do is back off some charges. You know, we have averaged about 20% additional cost over all of the other states in 18 to 20% in New England. Almost all of that is a result of charges that we were putting on the cost of energy, and then some of it because we purchased it on variable contracts. The variable contracts side goes away. We've taken some of the charges off, so they're also going to see that gain. And then a final point is that we are one of the states that leads in efficiency. That is the appropriate and efficient use of electricity. And depending on who's ranking us, I guess we're anywhere from second to eighth, but we need to be in first. If you're a high-cost area, we need to be pushing more efficiency, and we actually set some standards and some put some weight behind efficiency standards in the new act. So all of which is to say that if we can take advantage of what's happening in the marketplace with respect to the cost of natural gas, if we can look to clean alternatives other than very expensive alternatives, and my favorite clean alternative is hydro. Now, we can debate whether hydro, how clean it is or isn't, but it's a heck of a lot cleaner than coal.